Hello everybody, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this is the walk around, ride and review of the Yamaha XT250. This is actually going to be basically a 2013 through current Yamaha XT250 review, as back in 2013 they went to fuel injection, and the only differences between the models after that are basically the colors of the plastics and things like that. This particular one actually is a 2015 model. I did pick it up relatively cheap because it was a leftover, and made a good deal with it. And well, I've always wanted another dual sport after we sold the Triumph, so here she is. The XT250 is actually, to me, one of the better looking of the dual sports. I kind of like the more classic look with the rounded headlight, and you know, that just looks pretty good to me. I do like the way the cowling and everything sits off on it, some things like that. As you can see, she is a little bit battle worn, a little from trail riding and stuff like that. This one's a little bit different than the KLR, where I do take it out on the trail quite a bit more often. So, be honest, XT250 is a great little bike. You can get these relatively cheap. They start at about $50, $100, but if you do it right, you can get them for about $1,000 off if they got some leftovers, or you can get them for even cheaper than that if you just are pretty good at negotiating and things like that, or there's a good used one lying around. The XT250, it comes in at a very featherweight 291 pounds. Suspension travel on the front is only going to be about 7 inches, 7.5 inches, somewhere in there. Back is roughly about 7 inches as well, 6.5, 7 inches. They are spoked wheels. It has about a 60-40 split road / off-road tire, so you can do off-road with it pretty decently. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world. Whenever you're out there with a dedicated dirt bike, you get a lot more aggressive tread, but still pretty decent off-road. Doesn't do too bad at all, and we'll definitely be taking it off-road for this particular deal. Now, as you can see, I don't have stock handlebars on board this bike. I actually use Pro Taper CR highs on here. I'll mention that a little bit later as well. That way I could get a little bit of extra length, because they are a lot longer than the other ones. And I also added the Pro Grips for the grips and things like that, because they're a lot better. And of course the Acrobus bark busters. Basically, these things do have metal in them and all that stuff. And as you can see, a lot of people, when they put these on, say you have to cut off the levers. You don't. If you line it up and work with it, even move this a little bit if you need to, you can make it work without cutting them off. And I prefer to kind of keep it as stock as possible. So when you look at this bike, it's great. Like I said, lightweight at 291 pounds. Good suspension travel for off-road, 11 inches of ground clearance. So it does very well. Basically, very simple bike when it comes to the controls and things like that. I'll mention this, you know, on the trails and stuff like that. These lights are designed to, you know, just bounce around, not take a beating, things like that. You can see that it does have protection for the back in here. You can see where, like I said, it's a little bit battle worn, because I do take this one off-road. I'll show you the front plastic right through here as well. So you do kind of do some more brave things with this one than you would a KLR per se, because it's much lighter. I mean, it's also a lot shorter, so you can get your feet down on the ground and some things like that. Seat is very comfortable. 2.6 gallon gas tank. Observed fuel mileage is about 67 to 72. Just depending on the riding conditions I had. When you look at the controls, they're extremely simple. You can see here that you got your start stop right there. Starter button over here, just flash, and turn signals and horn. On the dash, very simple digital readout. You got your check engine light, your turn signal indicator, fuel light. It is fuel injected, like I mentioned. Bright indicator, neutral. Then on the main screen here, of course, you have a digital speedometer. It is a slow speedometer. They are like 4 miles an hour off, it seems like. You do have selectable trip odometers, as you can see, regular odometer. And then you got the little one up there that always shows. So basically 2 trip odometers, because these are separate from each other. Another thing that this has, and of course that little digital clock, another thing this thing has, which you don't see unless there's a fault, does have a fault readout as well, and it can tell you the fault number and the code and everything like that. So that way, if something goes wrong with it, you can get the fault and things like that. So it's just a pretty simple bike. The cool thing about this bike versus a lot of dual sports in its category, you'll see there and there, both wheels are disc brakes, so that actually comes in real handy. Very good stopping power. So let's go ahead and take this thing on the road, and we'll get some impressions on it, and we'll also take it off-road as well. On-road, the XT250 is a great little bike. You know, going through the details, it's obviously a very light bike, very nimble bike, very narrow bike. Helps it to be very good in the conditions of urban environments, good as a commuter bike, good in stop-and-go traffic, good in things like that. The wide ratio 5-speed, whenever you get going, is a little bit quick shifting at first, where you have to really get in there and get it going real quick. Go first and second and third really quick, and then hold it out a little bit longer, about 35 miles an hour, then you go to fifth gear by that time. So it's still really narrow range versus some of your other you know, more road-oriented bikes, but still, you get that extra fifth gear and claim top speed of 76 miles an hour. However, I've never done the 76 miles an hour. And the reason being is, A, it's still a new enough bike where I need to get it through its break-in period. And B, it's the fact that I don't think it can. Or when you do it, you're going to be so high in the rev range that the bike is just not going to, you know, be comfortable at that time. I don't like ringing out my bikes all the way to the max throttle at all times, you know. So if you're running on the interstate for any length of time, you're running this thing at, you know, full blast, and the you know, and I just don't like that, because, you know, it's one of those things where it heats the engine up faster. You know, you're running at the top end of the rev range, and it's just starting to ping, pop, and everything like that. And even on a broken engine, you don't want to do that. You want to give it some rest, so you want to give it some chances to, you know, breathe and things like that. So the XT250 is a great bike for a commuter bike, especially around the city. And that way, if you want to go to the trails and things like that, as long as you got some local ORV trails and stuff like within the city limits, then it's great to just ride out to those, go to those trails, and then run around for a day, then go right back home on the same bike. This bike does actually, you know, even with that 2.6 gallon gas tank, has incredibly good gas mileage. I mean, I expect to see, every time I fill it up, 65 plus. And I filled it up a few times already, and it always gets within that range. The highest I've seen is 75, and the lowest was 66. So, I mean, that's pretty dang good, and that's running around about 45 miles an hour in stop and go. Not even mixed conditions, just stop and go traffic. So I'm highly impressed with that ability for this bike. You know, and that's the greatest thing about it, is that it does it comfortably. It does it without any vibration, you know. I know I've changed a few things on it, like I've said before, which does help give it a little bit more comfort factor. You know, like the grips and things like that. You take those waffle grips off immediately. Those things, you can feel every vibration of this bike through them. So you take those off immediately, and you get yourself some pillow tops, or you get yourself these gel type like I've got. That way you don't have to worry about those vibrations. You know, despite the fact that the pegs don't have any sort of rubber insert on them and things like that for road riding, this actually does pretty dang well. You know, without those, you know, you can still feel some vibration if you're putting your feet down into them, and or if you're standing on them off-road and things like that. But, you know, it doesn't really bother you. It's not that bad at all for this single cylinder. When it comes to the engine braking, this thing has phenomenal engine braking. A lot of small singles do, though. So this is basically no different in that. So whenever you go in and you go to stop, you can almost stop completely with engine braking if you time it right. You don't even have to use your main brakes. It's kind of nice. So, you know, overall, the road impression of this bike is extremely favorable for a commuter bike and things like that. Maybe some back roads, maybe some back highways where the maximum speed is 65. You know, some of them are still 55, things like that. That's fine for this bike. This bike can handle that just fine. The only thing which you might be uncomfortable with is if you're not a comfortable rider and you end up out there in the, you know, the back roads and things like that, you may end up
you know, with some wind and some stuff like that, and being that it's 291 pounds, it's tall, it's thin, it does wobble quite a bit. We have a pretty windy day today, and you could tell I was kind of wobbling back and forth there down that road, and that's because it's just, and I'm doing the engine braking right now. This is strictly engine braking. I'll try to hold my hand up and show you. See, it almost will stop on its own, engine braking alone. But going down that road, you know, you caught some wind and some stuff like that, and it does catch you like a sail. So it's just one of those deals. Maintenance on this bike, washboard, is very simple. I actually, you know, just got it cleaned up and everything. I actually filmed the off-road portion a little earlier, so I cleaned it up for the walk around and the on-road. And it's so easy to do. You know, you could just simple tools can fix it. You don't need anything special. Yeah, you know, you can use a Phillips head screwdriver to tighten down the clamps on the controls if you need to. 14mm wrench takes the mirrors on and off. I carry one of those whenever I go off-road. That way, you know, I have an ability to just go ahead and take those mirrors off. I don't like the flip mirrors because I like to see, basically. You know. So that's the big thing. I definitely like to see much better, much clearer. So that way, you know, just take them off, put them aside, and go about business. Uh-oh. Oh no. I gotta go back. Luckily, this is what I like about these Sony cameras. They have this live view remote, and basically what you can do is whenever you're riding, you can watch what's happening, and you can see, as you can see, camera left the back of the bike. So I'm gonna get that camera real quick. That's a first. Well, kind of a second. Come here, buddy. Let's see. Lost some pieces to the camera here. Okay, let's see. Trying to find it. Oh well, crap happens, right? You gotta rely on glue. But I'll knock Sony for this real fast, even though this is about the bike here. By the way, nice and clean. The mounts on these, they use just this foam tape that's no good at all. So basically, it's not like a GoPro mount that uses 3M AVB, which is really tough stuff. It's just this regular foam tape, maybe 20 pounds max, instead of AVB's ability to handle some of the crazier stuff. Whee! Get turned back around here and go back where I was going. There we go. So you can lose a mount pretty easily with a Sony camera, unfortunately. I hope with the next redesign that they're coming up with here, which is actually soon to issue, hopefully they'll redesign those mounts and put the 3M AVB tape on there so you actually get good coverage. So anyway, back to the bike. You know, overall the package is really good, really balanced for on-road, off-road. Just don't take it off to the to the interstate or the races or anything, because you're not going to go that fast. When you're on the trails and things like that, I mean, like I showed you in the walkover, this bike does have some fairly aggressive tread pattern for a dual sport, but it's still mostly going to be road orientated. So because of that, you know, you're going to still be dealing with, you know, not the ability not to go quite as fast as you'd want to off-road. You're going to go through, you know, periods where you're going to get stuck in some stuff like that or slip around just because you don't quite have the grip that you do with a regular off-road tire. And you know, the thing is, if you ride, you know, slow and steady and get the job done, then you can actually do pretty good with this bike, even with those tires. But they do really well on the road. They don't transfer any vibration or anything like that. So they do very, very well. Sorry, I'm just looking at the cameras and positioning right now. Just kind of laughing at that one that's in my pocket because I can't get it off because the switches on the back that shuts it off is broke. So, yeah. But anyway, You know, look, if you look, this thing is flickable. You can dive with it. I mean, it is so light. So when you're in the city, you can dive in and out of traffic. You have enough power, just enough, not overwhelming, but just enough power to break away from traffic at a traffic light. If you're a lane splitting state, this bike is darn perfect for lane splitting because it's so narrow, you can get in anywhere. And I mean, you could just dive with this thing. It's just amazing how well this thing handles. The brake package works great on-road and off-road. It's one of the few bikes in this particular segment that's double disc. So you have the front disc and you have the back disc. You know, that's something that they don't really do very often in bikes this cheap and in this segment. So I'm glad that that Yamaha went ahead and did that, because I mean, these brakes are fantastic. They work really well. I mean, you can bring her to a screeching halt if you want to. As you can see, dives and can stop really well. So great bike overall for the road if you're wanting it to use for both. And you know, it comes great. It's great for city riding because you got the little helmet lock comes with it. You know, you can actually lock your helmet up and everything on the bike. Don't have to take your helmet everywhere. You know, just some simple things that make this bike, you know, more appealing for the city dweller. But how does it do truly off-road? You saw me go through a dirt road segment. This thing handles dirt roads like it's just a regular road. I don't really have any swishing or anything like that. It does very well on dirt roads. But let's see, how does it handle on off-road portions? Now the XT250 is a lot lighter weight than that KLR I had. Sits a lot shorter, and quite frankly is designed to be a little bit more heavily off-road on these kind of trails versus the KLR, where the KLR's home is more or less the kind of the open roads. The XT can actually go through, because it's a little bit more narrow, a lot more nimble. Whoa, that's a big one. And well, lighter. The good thing about it being lighter is that, I'm just doing that because I don't have that much ground clearance. I have 11 inches, but that's a lot of drop there. All right. But the XT, 16 horsepower, 250 engine. Not the strongest engine, but it's got a lot of heart down low. So you can do these tougher trails like this. I mean, this is not exactly an easy trail. In fact, it's awesome, but very tiring at the same time. Woo, big log. I don't have a crash protector yet. There it goes. So, when it comes down to the XT250, as a dual sport, it's a great on-roader, and by golly, is it a great off-roader. In fact, this is a fantastic off-road bike. Ooh, another one of these steep drops. Let's get down here. Like I said, I don't want to go too fast down it because, there we go. I don't have the skid plate on this thing, so I don't want to bottom her out. This thing is delightful off-road. If anybody says you can't take dual sports off-road, tell them they're lying. When everybody says that the XT250 is a girl's bike, tell them they're lying. This bike is ready. This bike is great for trails. Not good for trials, but great for trails. Just ran through here, so some of this course is very, very wet. Get her going, girl. Whoa, another one of these. Just impressive off-road. Just marvelous off-road. This bike is probably the best all-around bike I've ever been on when it comes to being a dual sport. And like I said, it has a 32-inch seat height, or 31.9. Close enough to 32, you might as well just say 32. So you get out here, and you're able to get your feet down, if you need to, on some of these. You're able to plant, you're able to get some traction, like so. You're just able to power on. I mean, this bike has got to be one of the best off-road dual sports there is. And of course, I haven't tried the Honda CRF yet, but I bet you it's capable. Very muddy, very sticky. Sticky mud, come on girl. First gear will help. Uh-oh, there we go. Get out of that sticky mud. There you go. Oh God, this thing is fun. So, my overall impression of the XT250 as an off-roader is a plus, man. Yamaha did their work. Sure, it only has 7.5 inches of spring travel. It's not like the WR. Sure, it's air-cooled. Sure, it's got 16 horsepower versus 28 like the WR. But you know, this bike is just lovely. And it does everything it can with a big heart. Big, giant heart. Sorry, I'm getting tired. I've been doing this actually for a little bit. I decided to turn on when I got a chance out of the trail because it's kind of tight in here, and if anybody wanted to pass me, then nobody would have been able to get by me until I got my cameras loaded up. So, I want to make sure I was at least out of their way first, and then get going, so I can give you the impression of the off-road of this bike. Oh, this thing is just great. Basically, off-road, this thing does have a very wide ratio speed, or 5-speed transmission. Woo, that was fun. So, it can be on the road. It's a 12-mile trail. I'm at mile 10, so getting close. So, whenever you're on the off-road, what I'm learning, first and second are your best friends on this thing. Third is a maybe. It depends on if you got a flat spot and a decent trail, but first and second are great for pulling. Do a good job of keeping this bike going, even in the stickier stuff. Woo-hoo! This is just hilariously fun. Whoa, sticky. Sandy, sandy, sticky, sticky, sandy. Stay up, there we go. I quite enjoy this little gibber. I quite enjoy it. So yeah, KLRs, flat, easy terrain, maybe some mild bumping. I ain't gonna do this. You're gonna kill yourself, and if it falls on you, you're dead. This one, if it falls on you, you laugh it off. Woohoo! Oh, this is awesome. This is a great trail. I'll tell you where I'm at. I'm at Oklahoma City's Lake Stanley Draper. They have an ORV park, and there's multiple different trails. There's red, and there's black, which is a pure expert trail, and then there's green and blue. And the red one is 12 miles, green one is 7 miles, and the blue one 14 miles. The expert one, I'm not sure how many miles that one is, but it's not as big as the other ones for sure. But this trail system is awesome. It really is. And if you're in the Oklahoma City area, you have some bikes and you wanted to take them out somewhere. Sorry, I'm just slowing down because I'm trying to talk and ride at the same time. It takes a lot out of you to ride trails like this and talk and stuff at the same time. But if you want to take your bike somewhere in Oklahoma City, I recommend this. It's only $10 for the whole day. It's pretty much open year-round, and there's been guys out here during the snow. There's been guys out here during certain rains. Sometimes they have to close some of the trails down, but right now they don't have anything closed down yet. So let's see. Hold on, let me get by this here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Somebody killed the sign. But they're clearly marked trails. Riding experience is really good. Really easy to get to. Whee! If you guys can see how broken this terrain is, it's hilarious. Alrighty. I'm probably the only one out here. I've seen some guys on some YZs and some stuff. Oh, not YZ. Well, maybe YZ. But I'm the only one out here, I'm pretty sure, with an XT. Little dual sport. But this thing is a sturdy son of a gun. This thing is very sturdy. Earlier in the trail, when I was trying to get a little bit more used to this and the steering and everything, I did have some problems because I'm used to dirt bike kind of acceleration and torque, and not quite used to this one. And a couple of times I flung off the trail and didn't quite lay her over. You know, just kind of got her a little sideways and not all the way down. Got too close to a couple of trees for comfort on a couple of those. So I know what she can do durably. She's just fantastic. She's a good girl. Jenny is a fantastic girl. So, you know, sorry for my rambling. It's an experience here. Pegs are easy to stand up on if you need them. Ooh, get that back end under control again. Right now, the gear I'm wearing, in terms of my off-road gear, I do have some. Have an O'Neill Element helmet, Element 3. And then I have O'Neill rider boots, jersey, and pants, and protection. Always wear protection when you're going off-road, and one of the reasons I didn't take this bike off-road immediately is I didn't have a crash bar on it, which came in handy earlier, because when I flung off the trail the way I stopped, I ran right into the crash bar, and thankful that I have it, because it could have been a lot worse. Even through those vests, you can still feel that thump if it's bare metal. This is just a thrilling road or ride for this little bike. This is just a great bike for off-road, folks. So when you're considering the XT250 or even the Hondas or Suzukis and the other dual sports that are lighter, the 250 versions, or maybe even up to 400, just know that you're going to get a great package. I'm not going to dog any of them. I don't want to. I think the XT was a great choice for me, simply because, you know, my experience with Yamaha in the past and family's experience with Yamaha, and I know I've had some family with Hondas and stuff like that, but you know, I don't I don't like the way Hondas look for some reason, but I just you know, kind of chose the Yamaha and decided that it would be a great fit, because I know that when they build something, they are one of the most, if not the most, reliable bike makers out there. And even, you know, looking at Consumer Reports and all these other publications that takes a look at these things, you know, they simply say that Yamaha will outperform anybody. And, you know, the XT, bless its heart, you know, sorry, these riding boots are not quite broke in, so it's hard to shift. So I'll hit neutral every once in a while, which is not a good thing on the trail, but at least I know how to overcome it. But the XT250, you know, came out in the 1980s. 1980, I think, directly. And it was out for 10 years to 1990. And Yamaha had kind of seen where, I guess, the market had gone to bigger, better. You know, they wanted 350s or 400s, and Yamaha produced the XT350, replaced this little booger. But, you know, there was enough of a market and enough of a request to have these things back. I mean, seriously, there was a lot back in 2008, they re-released this little bike, and to much fanfare. And a lot of people, you know, will still say that, you know, this is a girl's bike, this is this is that, you know. And it's simply not true. You know, the 250 came back out, it was carbureted again. 2013, they fuel injected it. This one's a fuel injected version. So you get the reliability of the fuel injection. You get the ruggedness of this XT250 block. Aw, into the trail. Oh well, let's get out of here. That's a big rock. Be close and slow. Ah, there we go. Woo! Anyway, so the XT250, I'll get out of the way of the trailhead here, in case somebody wants to pop out. It's just a fantastic bike, you know, all around. Let me get off and show you after that trail there what all she looks like, and you'll see some of the scrapes I did on her. Ugh. But, I mean, she can take a beating off-road, and she loves it. Loves it so much. I love it too. These pegs are great. You know, even on road, despite the fact they don't have any rubber inserts, vibration from the little engine's not too bad. These lights here, if you hit anything, you'll see they'll just bounce off. Here you can see where I drug her into some stuff there and scratched her up. So I didn't get her full over, just kind of gave her a little love tap there. So, I mean, overall, if you're looking for a dual sport bike that can be off-road, that can be on-road, be a great commuter, the XT250 definitely has my approval. Definitely a great bike. Anyway, this is the Rabid Hedgehog. If you have any more questions about the XT250, leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back with you on any questions or comments or anything like that. And if you have any more requests for me, let me know, and I'll do it. Have a good one. Keep the shiny side up, folks.